багштай баярлалаа. За өнөөдрийн бидний олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын эрдэм шинжилгээний хурал Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн тамирын газрын боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны зөвлөх доктор Додаа Хариусал Монголын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нэгдсэн байгууллагын боловсролч багштай баярлалаа. За өнөөдрийн боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны яамны дээд боловсролын эрдэм газрын хурал тамир олон улсын Монгол улсын эрдэмтэд инженерийн нэгдсэн байгууллагын ерөнхийлөгч доктор газрын боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны зөвлөх Додаа Хариусал Монголын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженерийн нэгдсэн байгууллагын боловсролч багштай баярлалаа. Өнөөдрийн боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны яамны дээд боловсролын нэгдсэн газрын ерөнхийлөгч доктор олон улсын Монгол улсын эрдэмтэд инженерийн нэгдсэн байгууллагын оролцогч байгаа боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны баяр хүргээх Додаа Хариусал улсын хурлын Монголын эмэгтэй шинжилгээний нэгдсэн боловсролч багштай баярлалаа. Өнөөдрийн нэгдсэн байгууллагын өдөртний боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны яамны дээд боловсролын нэгдсэн байгууллагын доктор
байна уу? За авчлаарай. За. Эрхэмсэг хадагтай энэ оёдоо эрхэм хүндэт олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүд, математикчдын нэгдсэн байгууллагын ерөнхийлөгч хадагтай Жун Сан Ким, эрхэм хүндэт олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүд, математикчдын нэгдсэн байгууллагын төслийн менежер хадагтай Сара Перс, эрхэм хүндэт Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн зөвлөх, Монгол улсын боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны яамны дээд боловсролын газрын дарга тамир болон гадаад дотоодын зочид төлөөлөгчдөө хүндэт зочдоо Аз номхон далайн үндэсний сүлжээний баг хурлыг зохион байгуулагч Монголын эмэгтэй инженер, математикчид, эрдэмтдийн нэгдсэн холбоо болон Монголын нийт эмэгтэйчүүдийн нэрийн өмнөөс төлөөлөгчд, хүндэт зочид та бүхэнд Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгч хүрэл сүхийн ивэл дор манай орон зохион байгуулагдаж байгаа хуралд хүрэлцэн ирсэнд чин сэтгэлийн талархал илэрхийлье. Энэ удаагийн хуралд гадаад дотоодын 200-аад эрдэмтэн, эмэгтэйчүүд, инженер, математикчид оролцож байна. Дэлхийн ертөнцийн техник, технологи, хүний оюун ухаан, хүчин чармаалтаар зогсолтгүй улам бүр хөгжин дэвшиж байна. Үүний зэрэгцээ хүмүүсийн амьдралд өвчин тахал, дайн, дэлхийн дулаарл гэх мэт олон хүнд хүчин зүйлүүдтэй тулгарч түүнийг сүрж хүмүүсийн амьдрах, ажиллах, харилцах, хөгжих арга барилыг үндсээр нь өөрчлөх асуудалтай нүүр тулж байна. Тогтвортой хөгжлийн зорилтуудыг хэрэгжүүлэхэд эдгээр асуудлуудад шууд нөлөөлөх олон сорилтуудыг дагуулж байна. Улс орон бүр тогтвортой хөгжилд хувь нэмэр оруулахад эрдэмтэд, тэр дундаа эрдэмтэн, эмэгтэйчүүд, судлаачид урд өмнөхөөсөө илүү чухал үүрэг гүйцэтгэж байна. Манай баг хурал тогтвортой хөгжилд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоо сэдвийн дор хүрээлэн буй орчин, хүнсний аюулгүй байдал ба эрүүл мэнд, боловсрол шинжилгээ ухаан, нийгэм эдийн засаг, инженерчлэл гэсэн 5 асуудлыг хэлэлцгээр төлөвлөд байна. Бид дижитал 900-д эдийн засгийн өсөлт, тогтвортой хөгжилд эмэгтэй эрдэмтэн, инженеруудын оролцоо, хувь нэмрийг оролцуулах санаачлагуудыг хэлэлцэж, дүн шинжилгээ хийж санал болгох болно. Монгол улс тогтвортой хөгжлийн зорилтуудыг тууштай хэрэгжүүлж, шинжилгээ ухаан, технологи, инновацийг үндэсний тэргүүлэх бодлого болгон тодорхойлж, гендерийн тэгш байдал, эмэгтэй эрдэмтдийн хөгжлийг дэмжсээр ирсэн. Эрдэмтэд сэхэтнүүдийн дунд эмэгтэйчүүдийн эзлэх хувь жил ирэх тусам өсөж байна. 2023 оны байдлаар ихтэй сургууль, коллежид суралцж байгаа хүмүүсийн 61.1% нь эмэгтэй, шинжилгээ ухааны салбарт ажиллах стийн 59.8%, эрдмийн цул зэрэгтэй хүмүүсийн 60.9% нь эмэгтэйчүүд байна. Эмэгтэйчүүд ард түмний амьдралыг сайжруулах, улс орныхын эдийн засгийн өсөлтийг нэмэгдүүлэхэд хүчин чармаалтай дайчлан ажиллаж байдагт бид баяртай байдаг. Цаашид бид эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүд, математикчдын нэгдсэн байгууллагад хамрагдаж байгаа эмэгтэйчүүдийн тоо хангалтгүй байгаа дүгнэлт хийж илүү их хичээл зүтгэл гаргаж ажиллах шаардлагатай байна. Монголын эмэгтэйчүүдийг олноор нь дэлхийн нийтийн болон өөрийн орны хөгжилд эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүд, математикчдын нэгдсэн байгууллагаараа дамжуулан үйл ажиллагаанд хамруулах бодит ажлуудыг санаачлан хийх болно. Хатагтай ноёдоо Монгол улсад зохион байгуулагдаж байгаа энэхүү баг хурал нь эмэгтэй эрдэмтдийн бүтээлч, практик сэтгэлгээ хөгжүүлэх шин санаа, шин урам зоригийг бий болгох, харилцан туршлага солилцох, тулгамдж байгаа асуудлуудад гарч шийдэл гаргахад олон орны эмэгтэйчүүд хамтран хэлэлцэж, шийдвэр гаргахад чухал ачаалттай хурал болно гэдэгт итгэлтэй байна. Нэгдсэн үндэсний байгууллагын тогтвортой хөгжлийн зорилтыг хэрэгжүүлэхэд хувь нэмрээ оруулж байгаагийн илэрхийлэл, бүс нутаг дэлхийн доктортой хөгжилд хамтран нэгдэж байгаагийн илэрхийлэл болж байна. Анхаарал тавьж дэмжлэг үзүүлсэн Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгч, боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны яам, их дээд сургуулиуд, бизнесийн байгууллага, олон улсын байгууллагууд, эрдэмтэд болон оролцсон та бүхэн чин сэтгэлээрээ талархал илэрхийлье. Төгсгөлд нь ногоон гариг ертөнцийнхөө доктортой хөгжлийн төлөө эмэгтэйчүүд нэгтцгээе гэсэн уриалгыг хүргэж байна. Та бүхэндээ нарлаг Монголд мартагдашгүй өдрүүдийг өнгөрүүлэхийг хүсэн өрөөй чуулганы ажилд амжилт хүсье. Баярлалаа.
Байна. За Монголын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нэгдсэн байгууллагын тэргүүн доктор профессор Туяццэг багшд баярлалаа. За өнөөдрийн бидний хурал чуулганы үйл ажиллагаанд Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн тамгын газрын боловсрол шинжилгээ ухаан технологийн бодлогын зөвлөх доктор Лодай Аравсал баяр хүргэж мэндчилгээ дэвшүүлэхээр хүрэлцэн ирсэн байна. Таныг эндэрт урьж байна.
За таавахынд энэ өдрийн мэндийг хүргэе. Тэгээ жоохон залруулга хэлэхгүй болохгүй. Би Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны технологийн бодлогын зөвлөх байгаа. Тэгээ таавахынд Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгч Ухнагийн үргэлжлэхийн мэндчилгээг уншиж танилцуулах юм аа. За, эрхэм мөндөд зоч төлөөлөгчдөө, эмэгтэй эрдэмтэн инженерүүдээ, Монгол улсын нийслэл Улаанбаатар хотноо хүрэлцэн ирж, шинжилгээ ухаан, технологи, инновацийн шин судалгаа шинжилгээ, шинэлэг санал санаачлалынхаа үр дүн хилцүүлэхээр хуран чуулж буй эрдэмтэн бүсгүйчүүд та бүхэнд энэ өдрийн мэндийг өргөн төвшүүлье. Аз намхан далайн бүс нутгийн гишүүн улс орнуудын уулзалтын хүрээнд энэхүү доктортой хөгжилд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоо сэдвт олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүдийн эрдэмшлэгийн хурал Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн эвэлдор зохион байгуулагдаж байна. Ирээдүйн хойч их дэлхийдээ ээлтэй доктортой хөгжлийг хангахад дэлхийн нийтээр онцгой анхаарч буй энэ цаг үед доктортой хөгжилд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоо сэдвийн хүрээнд энэхүү олон улсын хурал зохион байгуулагч байгаа нь чухал юм аа. Өнөөдөр эмэгтэй гадаад иргэн сайд нарын олон улсын хурал Улаанбаатар хотноо зохион байгуулагдаж дэлхийн нийтийн өмнө болон олон улсын харилцаанд тулгамдж буй олон улсын энх тайван, аюулгүй байдал, уур амьсгалын өөрчлөлт болон хүнсний аюулгүй байдлын асуудлын шийдлийг эрэлхийлэхээр хуралдаж байгааг дуулахад таатай байна. Дэлхийн нийтээр ядуурл, өсгөлэн устган, байгаль их дэлхийгээ хамгаалж, нийгмийн шударга ёсыг түгээн дэлгэрүүлж, өнөө болон ирээдүйн хож үеийнхэн энэ дэлхий дээр сайн сайхан амьдрах нөхцөлийг бүрдүүлэх зорилготой доктортой хөгжлийн зорилтуудыг Монгол улсын засгийн газар алсын хараа 2050 хөгжлийн баримт бичиг болон шин сэргэлтийн бодлоготой тусган хэрэгжүүлж уялдуулан ажиллаж байна. Энэ хүрээнд бомтын дэд үтс чадварыг сайжруулах, эрчим хүчний шинэ үүсвэрийг нэмэгдүүлэх, аж үйлдвэрчлэлийг эрчимжүүлэх, хот өдөөгийн хөгжлийг түргэсгэх, ногоон хөгжлийг цогцлох болон төр хувийн эвшлийн бүтээмжийг сайжруулах зэрэг асуудлуудад Монгол улсын засгийн газар онцгой анхаарч байна. Хөрс эрүүл бол хүнс эрүүл. Хүнс эрүүл хүн эрүүл байх болно. Монгол улс доктортой хөгжлийн зорилтуудыг ханган хэрэгжүүлэх, эрүүл орчинд эрүүл хүнс хэрэгжилж, эрүүл амьжиг орчин нөхцөлийг бүрдүүлэх зорилгоор тэр бом мод үндэсний хөдөлгөөний зэрэгцээ, хүнсний хангамж аюулгүй байдал, эрүүл Монгол хүн харилцан уялдаатай үндэсний хөдөлгөөнүүдийг хэрэгжүүлж эхлээд байгааг дуулахад таатай байна. Их дэлхийн улс орноор доктортой хөгжлийн 17 зорилтыг биелүүлэх нэгэн гол хүчил зүйл бол үр дүнтэй олон улсын хамтын ажиллагаа бүх нийтийн оролцоо юм а. Иймд Монгол улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүд, технологичид, математикчдын нэгдсэн холбооноос Монгол улсын эрхлэгчийн ивэлээр зохион байгуулж буй доктортой хөгжилд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоо сэдвүүд олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, инженерүүдийн эрдэмшлэгээний хурлан шин санаа, шин хандлага, шинэлэг хандлага, шилдэг туршлагаа солилцох боломжийг олгоно гэдэгт итгэлтэй байна. Энэхүү эрдэмшлэгээний хурал нь найрамдал нөхөрлөл, хамтын ажиллагаа бэхжүүлсэн, шинжлэх ухаан, технологи, инновацийн үр дүнг түгээн дэлгэрүүлсэн эрдмийн их чуулган байх болтугай. Хурлын үйл ажиллагаанд амжилт хүсье. Монгол улсын эрхлэгч ухраагийн үргэлжлэх 2023 оны 6 сарын 29-ний өдөр Улаанбаатарт. За баярлалаа.
Өнөөдрийн бидний чуулганы үйл ажиллагаа Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн ивэлд ор доктортой хөгжилд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоо сэдвийн хүрээнд дээр явагдаж байгаа бөгөөд Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгч Ухнаагийн хүрэлцэхийн бидний үйл ажиллагаа өнөөдрийн хуралд баяр хүргэсэн илгээлтийг уншиж танилцуулсан хуралд маань оролцож байгаа Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчдийн боловсрол шинжлэх ухаан технологийн бодлогын зөвлөх доктор Лода Аравсал танд талархал илэрхийлье. Ингээд та бүхний өмнө бас нэгэн хүндтэй хүнийг бид урих гэж байна. За Монгол улсын боловсрол шинжлэх ухааны яамны сайд энх хамгаалангийн илгээлтийг болон баяр хүргэж үг хэлнүү хэмээн та бүхний өмнө боловсрол шинжлэх ухааны яамны дээд боловсролын газрын дарга ноён Томир таныг урьж байна.
За та бүхэнд энэ өдрийн мэнд хүргье. Монгол улсын их хурал дээр боловсролын багц хууль өргөн баригдаж өнөөдөр хилцэж байгаа учраас боловсрол шинжлэх ухааны яамны сайд хүрэлцэн ирж амжсангүй хүлцэл өсч байгааг бол амжуулсныг энд бол дуулах нь зүйтэй баха. Яг өнөөдөр мэргэжлийн боловсрол дээд боловсролын хуулийн их хурлын чуулганы анхны хилцүүлэг хийгдэх одоо энэ цаг үедээ таарж байгаа учраас энд манай сайд бол нэлээд завгүй байгаа. Тэгээд ингээд боловсрол шинжлэх ухааны яамны сайд энх хамгааллын сайдын үгийг энд та бүхэндээ үнэлгээг уншиж танилцуулъя. Хатагтай ноёдоо та бүхэндээ энэ сайхан өдрийн мэндийг хүргэн мэдчилье. Нарлаг Монгол орнд минь Аз намхан далайн үндэсний сүлжээний доктортой хөгжилд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоо баг хурал эхэлж байна. Энэ удаагийн баг хурлын зохион байгуулагчаар Монгол улсыг сонгосонд Аз намхан далайн үндэсний сүлжээнд талархал илэрхийлье. Хүн төрөлхтний өмнө тулгарч байгаа асуудлуудыг шийдвэрлэхэд эмэгтэйчүүдийн оролцоог нэмэгдүүлэх шаардлагатай байгаа энэ үед судлаачид Монгол өсгөөчүүд минь өөрийн эх орондоо энэхүү нэр хүндтэй хурлыг зохион байгуулж байгааг олзуурхан хүлээн авч байна. Хатагтай ноёдоо Аз намхан далайн бүс нутгаас хүрэлцэн ирж тус хуралд оролцож буй эмэгтэйчүүд та бүхэнд Монгол эмэгтэй судлаачдын үлгэр дуурайл болж харилцан суралцах, хамтдаа хөгжих боломжийг энэ хурал олгож байгаад боловсрол шинжлэх ухааны яам болон миний зүгээс баяртайгаар хүлээн авч байна. Монгол улсын эрдэмшлэгээний ажилтны 69.2%-ийг 40 хүртэлх насны эмэгтэй эрдэмтэн судлаачид эзэлж байна. Энэ эмэгтэй эрдэмтэн судлаачдын нийгэм, улс төрийн оролцоо, манлайлалыг бодит үйл ажиллагаа болгох боломжийг олгож байгаа юм а. Эмэгтэй эрдэмтэн судлаачид салбарт эзлэх хөв өндөр байх боловч статистик үзүүлэлтээр ахтемж 5 Хүрээлэнгийн захирал 8, тэргүүлэх зэрэгтэй эрдэмтэн судлаач 170, шинжилгээ ухааны академийн тэргүүлэгчдийн бүрэлдэхүүнд эмэгтэй эрдэмтэн байхгүй байгаа нь эмэгтэй судлаач шийдвэр гаргах төвшөнд бага байгааг харуулж байна. Сүүлийн 10 жилийн хугацаанд Монголын эрдэмтдийг гадаад хэвлүүлсэн бүтээлийн тоо 5.1 дахин өсөж, жилийн дундаж өсөлт нь 9% байна. Web of Science, Scopus зэрэг шинжилгээ ухааны нэр бүхэнд бүхий мэдээллийн санд бүртгэлтэй мэргэжлийн сэтгүүлүүдэд хэвлүүлж буй бүтээлийнхээ тоогоор Монгол улс Азийн эхний 20 орны игнэнд орж манай эрдэмтдийн бүтээлээс 64 мянган ижлэл хийгдсэн үзүүлэлт байна. Монгол улсын засгийн газраас сүүлийн жилүүдэд шинжилгээ ухаан технологийн салбар, инновацийн үйл ажиллагаанд онцгой анхаарал хандуулж, салбарын бодлого, эрх зүйн орчныг шинжлэх, өрсөлдөх чадварыг дээшлүүлэх замаар улс орны эдийн засаг, нийгмийн хэрэгцээ шаардлагыг хангах хуц, олон улсын жишгт хүрсэн салбарыг төлөвшүүлэн хөгжүүлэх зорилтыг дэвшүүлж, дөрвтэй томоохон арга хэмжээгнүүдийг авч хэрэгжүүлж байна. Монгол улсын шинжилгээ ухааны салбарын хөгжилд эрчимтэй явагдаж, баггүй амжилтуудыг олсны дотор эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд, судлаачид бүтээл ариунтай байна. Энэ ололтыг зарим хэсгээс та бүхэн өнөөдрийн энэ хурлаар сонсож хэлцэх байхаа. Хадагтай ноёдоо, жил бүр зохион байгуулагддаг энэхүү баг хурлан эмэгтэй эрдэмтдийн бүтээл, практик сэтгэлгээ хөгжүүлэн, шин санаа, шин урам зоригийг бий болгосон гэдэгт итгэлтэй байна. Та бүхэнд эрүүл энхийг хүсэж энэ өдрийн хурлалд нь амжилт хүсье гэсэн байна. За ингээд бүгдээрэнд нь хурлын амжилтыг дахин хүсье.
Дэлхийн доктортой хөгжлийн 17 зорилтуудыг хэрэгжүүлэхэд хувь нэмэр оруулах эрдэмтэд, инженеруудын үйл ажиллагааны хүрээг өргөдөх, бүтээл, инновацийг нийтэд таниулах зорилго бүхий APNN 13 дахь эрдэм шинжилгээний хуралд маань баяр хүргэж, мэндчилгээ дэвшүүлсэн боловсрол шинжилгээ ухааны яамны дэд улсрын газрын дарга доктор профессор Тамир танд чин сэтгэлийн халуун баяр хүргье. Бид энэхүү дараагийн баярын мэндчилгээг хүргэнэ үү хэмээн та бүхний өмнө олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нэгдсэн байгууллагын ерөнхийлөгч доктор Жан Сан Ким таныг хүргэж байна.
Dr. Rabsal Choima, advisor to the President of Mongolia, the Honorable Dr. Undram Chimbat, Member of Parliament of Mongolia, our representative from the Ministry of Education and Science, Dr. Tuyat Setek Jambat, the Conference Chair of ICWSTEM, board members of INWES, APNN country representatives, members of WSTEM, distinguished speakers and distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Sem Beno, I tried. It is with utmost pleasure that I welcome you all on behalf of the Board of Directors of INWES to the 2023 APNN meeting and the International Conference of Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. We are grateful for the support of the government of Mongolia and the inspiring message from His Excellency, Mr. Kuralsuk Ukna, President of Mongolia. What a delight it is to be able to meet face-to-face again with members of APNN and to be in Mongolia, the land of the eternal blue skies. I would like to first of all congratulate and thank Dr. Arjun Bolor Purvi, Chair of APNN, Professor Basengal Batar, INWES board member of Mongolia, and the WSTEM team, the wonderful WSTEM team, for successfully organizing this year's conference and the APNN meeting. As we are witnessing history, when the world is prioritizing post-pandemic actions in line with climate actions for sustainable development, we are reminded once again of the importance of the role of science and engineering in addressing the challenges humanity faces. And another important reminder that science and engineering are done by both women and men. And that diversity and inclusion is the key to innovation. Yet we are still slow and far from reaching a balanced human resource development in the STEM fields. Statistics clearly show that the gender gap in economic development, or rather economic participation, especially pertaining to science and engineering leadership, is still as wide as can be. The theme of this year's conference, addressing the Sustainable Development Goals and the sustainable development and sustainability with women's participation, is thus very timely and important, as we would all agree that without women's participation, we cannot reach the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations. Coincidentally, the mission of INWES is building a better future worldwide by the full participation of women and girls in all aspects of science and engineering. We celebrated our 20th anniversary of our official founding last year, and we had a chance to look back to what the pioneering women, engineers and scientists who came before us had foreseen for the betterment of the world. And since 1964, when the Triennial Conference, ICWSTEM, was first held, and then when the formal network was established in 2002 to more effectively bring out the collective wisdom of women from different parts of the globe. And in 2011, the need for a regional network to bring INWES members in similar time zone and proximal regions initiated the APNN meeting, which we are attending here today. After 12 years, APNN has become an exemplary regional network, fulfilling the goals initially set by the starting members. APN has held annual meetings every year since 2011. We have not missed a single year. During the COVID, we had online meetings and we had hybrid meetings. INWES, our APNN, also has published annual country reports, participated in joint projects, and has been expanding membership. And today, APNN is represented in 17 countries. And the effective leadership of the past chair organizations, including KWSC, JNWES, TWIST, and the present chair organization, WSTEM, which we're especially very proud of because WSTEM started with INWES and has grown remarkably since 2012. One of the significant accomplishments of APNN is in building data that has and will serve to show the world that the gender gap in science and engineering is not an ability issue, but rather a motivation and culture issue. Moreover, the virtue of international cooperation has been well practiced among the members in the APNN countries into an effective collective voice which addresses issues through scientific logics and rational data, as is in the case of the GIZE reports and the GIZE index, which will be presented by Dr. Sarah Pierce today. I hope this year's conference will serve as an opportunity to renew our confidence as we confide in our international peers in Asia and the Pacific Islands, with whom we hope to continue building up the collective voices that will bring positive impacts to the world. Science and engineering, together with gender equality, are vital agendas for a sustainable world. And as an international organization, INWES would like to go beyond fixing the numbers by speaking to the women and girls to become scientists and engineers. We want to start listening and gathering voices so that we can bring changes to the culture of science and engineering workplaces. Because only through full participation of women and girls in science can we achieve a better future for all. In closing, I would like to thank the organizers once again for providing us with the warm Mongolian hospitality and for showing us what sustainability means through the vast preserved nature and inspiring us with the enormous potential and strength possessed by the women of Mongolia. I hope you all make the most out of this very meaningful event. Thank you very much.
Олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нэгдсэн байгууллагын ерөнхийлөгч доктор Жансан Ким танд энэхүү APNN түүхэнд Аз твээс тэр дундаа Монгол улсаас APNN түүхэнд нэгэн шинэ хуудсыг нээж хүрэлцэн ирж оролцож бидэнд баярын мэндчилгээ дэвшүүлсэнд баярлж талархснаа нийт оролцогчдын өмнөөс илэрхийлье. Одоо бид та бүхнийхээ өмнө аж үйлдвэрийн 4-р хувьсгал ба эмэгтэйчүүд гэсэн илтгэлээр, үндсэн илтгэлээр улсын их хурлын гишүүн Монголын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нийгэмлэгийн удирдах зөвлөлийн гишүүн Чимбатын ундран гишүүнийг урьж байна.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to tell you the topic of my presentation is about artificial intelligence and gender equality. So I think it was given different name prior to this today. So dear President of INVEST, Professor Yoon-Sang Kim, board members of INVEST, honored guests of the Asia Pacific region, members of Women in STEM of Mongolia, ladies and gentlemen, scientists and researchers. Dear women from all areas of STEM, it's my honor and pleasure to be standing here as the keynote speaker of this conference, which is being organized in Mongolia under the auspices of His Excellency Mr. Khursuh Okhna. As of we are living in the era of technological vast advancement, my topic here today is artificial intelligence and gender equality. Industrial revolutions have always dominated and changed the world in a big way. The first one happened way back in the 18th century. Can you put the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. And the second one occurred almost two centuries after that in the 20th century. The third one happened only a half century later, while the fourth one was observed within 3 decades. Klaus Schwab, the founder of World Economic Forum, coined the term the Fourth Industrial Revolution in the World Economic Forum, which was organized in Davos in 2016. By the speed these transformations are occurring, the fifth industrial revolution is said to be around the corner. The fifth industrial revolution, also known as Industry 5.0, is a new phase of industrialization, whereby humans work alongside advanced technologies and artificial intelligence-powered robots to enhance processes within the workplace. It is algorithms and machine learning. Most of us here today have experienced the last 3 industrial revolutions and maybe many more to come. Along the way of these industrial revolutions, we picked up globalization, climate change, environmental degradation, and multinational conglomerates with annual revenues larger than the GDP of many countries. More efficient production has meant increased pollution, reckless consumption of non-renewable resources, and ever-improving quarterly profit statements. The fifth industrial revolution can be summarized as the combination of humans and machines in the workplace, but this is vastly oversimplified and does not even begin to explain the magnitude and complexity of the change. So today, we are talking about how we want to shape the fifth industrial revolution for our better life and more inclusive environment. Next slide, please. Most companies are adapting artificial intelligence into their daily activities. According to some statistics, 80% of emerging technologies will have artificial intelligence foundations. Demand for artificial intelligence talent has doubled in the past 2 years, and probably it will be more in the coming years. 63% of people prefer to message a chat bot versus talking with humans when communicating with a business. The wearable artificial intelligence market will reach $180 billion by 2025. Facial recognition powered by artificial intelligence will increase its annual rate by 20%. The global artificial intelligence market size was worth $62 billion in 2020 and is expected to have an annual growth rate of 40% from 2021 to 2028, according to Grandview Research. The recent vast advancement of artificial intelligence is giving an opportunity to develop science and change the world beyond human capabilities. Biggest achievements and highest pays are also following this trend. We're all talking about the achievements up to today, but we also have to talk about the risks. Next slide, please. There are risks of thinking that, i.e., because artificial intelligence is based on abstract mathematical algorithms, it can therefore reveal pure, objective, and universal truths. In order to prevent people from relying and trusting on artificial intelligence too much, scholars recommend maintaining the focus on the humans behind the algorithms, not the machines. So many questions need to be answered. How will the white-collar jobs change? Will they disappear completely? How will workers have to reconfigure their roles as routine work becomes automated? How will we as a society respond to this? Values, institutions, a sense of identity. Which countries will be affected the most? What about the suburbs? Because Mongolia, we have, huge suburbs. Some of the places are not connected into internet. What will happen in countries with low internet adoptions? What will happen to women? Next slide, please. According to the Global Gender Report by the World Economic Forum, 2023, statistical benchmarking research based on 145 countries sample, the highest score was given to Iceland with 0.91 score, and the lowest score was given to Afghanistan with 0.40. Here I tried to collect the countries, which has representatives in this room, so you can see the scores here. The Global Gender Gap Index was first introduced by the World Economic Forum in 2006 to benchmark progress towards gender parity and compare countries' gender gaps across 4 dimensions: economic opportunities, education, health, and political leadership. The level of progress toward gender parity for each indicator is calculated as the ratio of the value of each indicator for women to the value for men. A parity score of 1 indicates full parity. The gender gap is the distance from full parity. So for example, in Mongolia, it's 0.7, which means 1 man is being equal to, 70%. 70% men is being equal to 1 woman. So that's how big the parity we have in this country. And the other countries, you can see the scores. Next slide, please. Examining more closely into STEM occupations, an important set of jobs that are well remunerated, and expected to grow in significance and scope in the future, show that women remain significantly underrepresented in the STEM workforce. Women make up almost half, it's 49.3% of total employment across non-STEM occupations, but only 29.2% of all STEM works. And yet the STEM jobs, they pay the highest. The fraction of women in STEM jobs has nonetheless grown by 1.58 percentage points from 27.6 in 2015. The growth outspaces that for non-STEM jobs. The participation of women in this industry is behind at every step of its life cycle. Reports show that women are 25% less likely than men to know how to leverage digital technology for basic uses. Next slide, please. The percentage of female STEM graduates entering into STEM employment is increasing with every cohort. The number on the integration of STEM university graduates into the labor market show that the retention of women in STEM, even 1 year after graduating, sees a significant drop. In 2021, women comprised 38.5% of STEM degree recipients, compared with 31.6% of STEM workers one year following graduation, a drop of 6.9 percentage points. Once in the workforce, however, women are generally less likely to drop out in the first years until they start climbing the hierarchy. The difference between year 2 after graduation and year 1 after graduation is around 1 or 2 percentage points. Next slide. When it comes to STEM occupations, women are scarce throughout all industries, apart from healthcare and care services, where they represent 51.5% of the workforce. Gender parity in STEM jobs across industries varies widely. Women generally tend to be underrepresented in leadership roles, but especially in STEM work, they account for 29.4% of entry-level workers and 29.9% of senior workers, but the share of women in manager or director positions drops to 25.5% precisely. Women's representation in high-level leadership roles such as vice president, C-suite drops even lower to 17.8% and 12.4% respectively. The concentration of artificial intelligence talent overall has surged, increasing 6 times between 2016 to 2022. The extent of this increase varies across industries, with technology, education, professional services, and financial services exhibiting the highest concentration of artificial intelligence talent. Next slide, please. However, when it comes to gender gaps, representation of female artificial intelligence talent is lower compared to men in all large industries. Overall, as of 2022, only 30% of artificial intelligence talent were female. The industries with the highest concentration of AI talent include those with low representation of women, as well as those with high representation, such as financial services, education, professional services, and technology, information and media. Additionally, consumer services and government and public sector are industries with a large gender gap overall in AI. Next, please. It is no longer sufficient to front-load skills through training in the initial phase of the career for a single qualification through a lifetime. In the changing job market, demand for skills is rapidly shifting. creative thinking, analytical thinking, technological literacy, curiosity and lifelong learning, and resilience, flexibility, and agility are increasing in demand. As of 2022, except for teaching and mentoring courses, there is disparity in enrollment in every skill category. For enrollment in cognitive skills such as creative thinking, analytical thinking, and system thinking, which are projected to become increasingly crucial in the next 5 years, gender gaps remain persistent and even registered decline since 2015 parity levels. For enrollment in technology skills such as technological literacy and AI and big data, which are within the top 10 skills, projected to grow, there is less than 50% parity, and progress has been sluggish since 2015. Next, please. Female representation in AI is progressing yet very slowly. The percentage of women working in AI today is roughly 4% higher than it was in 2016. Here, I brought up these iconic photos of Marie Curie. The only woman in this picture of 29 geniuses, including Pauli, Bohr, Einstein, Schrödinger, Dirac, Heisenberg, Lorentz, and Planck at the Slovak conference in 1927. She has received a Nobel Prize together with her husband in 1903 and by herself in 1911 for the recognition of her work in radioactivity. So today here, we're standing 100 years later, and we're still the minority in the science STEM field. Sometimes I imagine, what if most of the women, were scientists then, 100 years ago? Would the world will be different today? The machines around us? Yes, yes. So, well, since, today we're here, now we also have to work together for us and also for our next generation, for our girls and daughters and granddaughters. So, as I said, AI is based on abstract mathematical algorithms. We must focus on the humans behind the algorithms. The algorithms are designed by men. 78% is designed by men. And one of another meetings, I heard that chatbot does not understand women's problems. If you ask a chatbot about abortion or things that only happen to women, it does not understand. And if you ask a chatbot about nurses, it answers she, not a he. So AI is even, does not understand women because men are inventing these algorithms. So, when women's perspectives, experiences, and insights are not adequately incorporated into AI development and deployment, biased algorithms and technologies may be perpetuated, risking biased and suboptimal solutions to emerging challenges. Next, please. Documents on gender equality and AI has started to be developed initially in some organizations and some places. For example, the UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of AI. And also the European Union, they have started to draft rules of artificial intelligence already. Furthermore, companies such as Microsoft, Also set up AI principles to make AI more inclusive, beneficial to as many people as possible. Ensure inclusive design practices for the system developers so they do not unintentionally exclude people. However, we need to do more on many levels cooperatively. Next, please. We need to improve public awareness on AI, give more education and skills related to AI. The public is largely unaware of the ways in which AI shapes their lives, and there are few regulations that require disclosure about the use of the technology. Media, journalism, and academia play a crucial role in demystifying and promoting accuracy and evidence based on accountability. Improve education on AI and society, bias and ethics for technical and non-technical audiences, particularly among professions and in areas where there are gaps. Create programs for development of AI literacy or algorithm awareness for individual girls and women to critically assess personal and societal risk and benefit from the impact of AI, as well as empower them as public advocates and agents in its development. Improve access to quality STEM education and career for girls and women. We have to adopt a forward-looking view so that women are not playing catch-up in understanding the skills and are not relegated to a reactive position. Next, please. Codes of conduct needs to be created specifically for AI and software developers, similar to the medical profession, lawyers, and journalists. Create standards that address human rights, risks in machine learning system design. Develop policies to make better AI governance in countries. Increase funding for AI startups founded by women, scholarships for women studying in the field, research funding for women AI researchers. Next, please. So, this is my picture created by AI. Thank you very much for your attention, and we need to make AI for social good and make it more inclusive. Thank you very much.
Тийм ээ, бид өнөөдөр дэлхийн доктортой хөгжлийн 17 зорилтуудыг хэрэгжүүлэхэд бидний нийгэм тулгамдж байгаа асуудлын гарц шийдлийг олохоос гадна Монголын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженерүүд төдийгүй Монгол улсынхаа нэр хүндийг өргөх эх орноо сурталчлах зорилгын хүрээнд ийхүү хуралдаж байгаа энэ цаг мөчид чухал сэдвээр илтгэл танилцуулж гарц шийдлийг дэвшүүлж ийхүү сайхан илтгэлээ бидэнд хүргэсэн Монгол Улсын их хурлын гишүүн, Монголын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нэгдсэн байгууллагын маань удирдах зөвлөлийн гишүүн доктор Ундрам танд талархал илэрхийлье. Баяр хүргэе танд. Одоо бид та бүхний өмнө бас нэгэн эрхэм нэр хүндтэй эрдэмтэн эмэгтэйг та бүхний өмнө өргөх гэж байна. 2011-ээс 2017 оны олон улсын эмэгтэй эрдэмтэд инженеруудын нэгдсэн байгууллагын ерөнхийлөгч за доктор Марлин Канг таныг урьж байна. Доктор Марлин Канг инженерчлэлийн олон байдал оролцоог сайжруулахын тулд инженерчлэлийн боловсруулалтыг өөрчлөх нь алсын хараанаас үр дүнтэй үйл ажиллагаа руу шилжих нь гэсэн ийм одоо сонирхолтой чухал сэдвээр та бүхний өмнө илтгэлээр оролцох гэж байна. Таныг урьж байна.
Good morning, everyone. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here and join you this morning. I would like to acknowledge the representatives of the Office of the Prime Minister in Mongolia, the Ministry of Education, Dr. Aryan Bolo-Purvi, Chair of WSTEM and board members of WSTEM, the Chair of the conference, Dr. Jambal, President of INWEST, Dr. Jungsang Kim, and board members, and distinguished delegates, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say a personal message, although I'm not there with you in person, I'm there with my whole heart and my whole mind, because I'm so proud to see WSTEM here as a thriving organization, because the start was in Adelaide in 2011, on the 11th of July 2011, when Dr. Purvi came and spoke for the very first time, and then she came back to Mongolia and established WSTEM. So this is a great success of APNN and of INWEST, and we are very, very proud and pleased to be here at this conference and to acknowledge this progress. I'm going to now just try and share my screen and my presentation. Can I share my screen, please? Can you let me share? Okay. Okay, thank you. Sharing screen has been disabled for me. Can you please share it? Okay, stop share, sorry. I hope you can see my screen for me. I'm going to talk about how we transform education and culture for greater diversity and inclusion in engineering. Dr. Undram Chinbat just spoke about how we have so many losses for women who study science and engineering, and after graduation, just after 1 year, they leave science and engineering and go into other professions. And this is an issue for women all around the world. So we not only need to encourage women and girls to consider careers in science, technology, and engineering, but we need to have strategies to get them to remain. So my presentation today will talk about not only the diversity imperative for engineering, but what has been done about it in terms of a project that I led in transforming engineering education to ensure that women, in fact, relate to the curriculum and the way it is taught, and both men and women that emerge from these studies then learn to work together in a diverse and inclusive culture. And this review was done to the graduate attributes and professional competencies benchmark. So this is the topic of my presentation today. So you've already heard from Dr. Unbat about the diversity imperative, and much of what I say complements what's been said already this morning. Science, engineering, technology, and mathematics are crucial to advance the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we need to ensure that we have more engineers, scientists, and technologists with the right skills to develop the technologies and solutions for sustainable development. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said the clear objective of our time is parity, rooted in women's empowerment. And he's also subsequently said in a tweet on World Engineering Day, as a trained engineer, I'm passionate about the potential of engineering to help solve the most pressing challenges facing our world. But to truly maximize that potential, we must ensure that women and girls have equal opportunity and representation in this field. And this was the image he tweeted: more women engineers are needed for a fairer and more resilient world. However, as we've already heard this morning, progress has been very, very slow. In 2022, the Global Gender Gap Report showed that the gap had closed by 68%. But at the current rate of progress, it will take 132 years to reach full parity. Women continue to be overrepresented in education, health, and welfare degree subjects, including nursing, as we've heard already, and underrepresented in many STEM fields. The gender gap is most prevalent in information and communications technologies, where only 1.7% of ICT graduates are women compared to 8.2% of men. And in engineering and manufacturing, only 6.6% of graduates are women compared to 24.6% for men. And this is from the World Economic Forum Gender Gap Report. McKinsey reports that if we encourage women to participate more fully in economies, it would add 12 trillion to the world's GDP. And we also need to be concerned that more than 160 million women around the world are going to be affected by changes in technology, including artificial intelligence, and may need to change their jobs through 2030 due to automation. So this is a very significant concern for us. Progress by region shows that the South Asia region, where the Asia Pacific Nation Network operates, is really lagging behind, where the gender gap is 62.4% compared with around 77% in North America. And if we look at women's participation in science, again, you can see the big gap in Asia and Africa, which is the light purple areas, which is where there's 0 to 30 or less than 30% participation by women. Similarly, if we look at women's participation in the academies of science, which show that women have reached leadership positions, it's quite low. It ranges from 28% in the world's academies of science in biological sciences down to 8% in mathematics and 10% in engineering. So again, we see that women fail to have long-term careers and reach leadership positions in science, technology, and engineering fields. The second UNESCO engineering report, which was released in March 2021, had a focus on increasing diversity and inclusion. And the hero message in the executive summary was, it is essential that more young people, especially girls, consider engineering as a career. More women are needed now for more innovative and sustainable solutions. Women engineers are contributing to engineering around the world in increasing numbers, and we need them to deliver inclusive and sustainable solutions for the most pressing problems facing our world. We need the world's best intellects for engineering, and women's views are essential for a sustainable world to reflect community standards, values, and aspirations. But to get there, we need to change the rules to get better outcomes. And this is what my talk is all about. This is how we change the rules in a way. The key goal of my project to review the engineering education benchmarks was to ensure that engineering graduates have the attributes and skills to meet current and future needs of employers, industry, and the community. And of course, it advanced goal 4 for education and 17 partnership. The World Federation of Engineering Organizations, where I was president, worked in partnership with the international organizations involved in engineering and science. In particular, the International Engineering Alliance, which owns the engineering education benchmark, the International Federation of Engineering Education Societies, comprising the engineering educators societies of the world, the Federation of International Consulting Engineers, which employs 40% of the world's engineers. Of course, the International Network for Women Engineers and Scientists that represents all of us, and the International Center for Engineering Education based at Tsinghua University in China. This project implemented 3 recommendations from the second UNESCO engineering report in a chapter that I authored. And the recommendations were that government engineering educators, industry and professional engineering institutions need to collaborate to increase the number and quality of engineers. There's also a need to work in partnership to develop the necessary international engineering education benchmarks for sustainable development. And these need to be recognized across the world and form the basis of national engineering education systems for engineers with the right skills, especially for Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So you see that very strategically, I laid the foundations of the work to be done in this recommendation, and the project then implemented these recommendations. So it was a very strategic pathway. Now, the International Engineering Alliance is the umbrella organization that provides the governance for 3 accords and 4 agreements that enable international multilateral recognition of engineering education in terms of graduate attributes and professional competencies across more than 30 countries around the world. The 3 accords relate to 3 levels of engineering education: the professional engineer, the engineering technologist, and engineering technician. And after graduation, for professional registration, after some work experience, there are 4 agreements, again for professional engineer, technologists, associates, and 1 for the APEC region. So all signatories to these 7 accords and agreements must implement the requirements of the benchmark, the graduate attributes and professional competencies, or GAPC, to ensure mutual recognition of qualifications. So what this means is that the members who are the signatories of all these accords must align their engineering education curricula to this benchmark. And here you see the map which shows the reach of the International Engineering Alliance signatories. The green areas are current signatories, the blue areas are provisional signatories, and orange area is Europe. It's 27 nations. And that European region also aligns in terms with an agreement with the IEA. So we're talking about some 57 countries. And of course, you can see here are the gaps in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, which we also need to build capacity to improve. So the little bit more about the GAPC benchmark. The benchmark states the requirements for attributes generically and are applicable to all engineering disciplines. The graduate attributes are a set of individual outcomes that show the graduate's potential to acquire certain competencies. And similarly, the professional competencies record the elements required to be gained by an engineer or a technologist or technician after education. Now, the accreditation bodies that accredit all the engineering programs go out and assess universities' education programs against this benchmark. And this is how this is implemented. The changes that were recognized in the GAPC was for a more inclusive culture. Engineering graduates were to learn how to contribute in a diverse environment, which of course includes women, to embed cultures, behaviors, and values for a more diverse and inclusive profession, to incorporate the need to address the objectives of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to have a broad ethical approach, to consider the ethics, not just impacting the environment, but also socially, economically, and so on. And also the need for developing skills for online communication, stakeholder consultation, etc., and to work in diverse and remote teams. But cultures and behaviors was a key objective. An example of the changes that have been occurring in engineering is shown here for civil engineering. It is estimated that 90% of the work of civil engineers is embedded in excellent codes and standards that underpin much of civil engineering. And automation can take over routine tasks and do it in a few hours, what used to take many days. So engineers need to learn new skills to handle these technologies, including building information systems, simulation, optimization, and automation, to add more value to civil engineering work. But at the end of the day, we also need more brain power, not muscle power, and we need to harness the intellect of women around the world, including, of course, in the Asia Pacific. So these were the 6 key areas that were targeted after considerable research and consultation around the world to change the GAPC benchmark. The first was to accommodate future needs of the engineering profession. The second was to develop skills to adapt to rapidly emerging technologies, including lifelong learning and digital learning. To adapt to emerging and future engineering disciplines and practice areas, to incorporate, of course, a commitment to advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals and leave no one behind, to incorporate diversity and inclusion in all work, all engineering work and ways of working as well, and to include intellectual agility, creativity, and innovation as key skills that need to be developed. Now, please note this purple star, which represents diversity and inclusion, and I will explain the benchmark and how diversity and inclusion was included in there. So this is the process for implementing the reviewed benchmark. The GAPC comprises 5 tables. The first relates to the range of problem-solving abilities that are required by a professional engineer, a technologist, or technician. The second is a range of engineering activities that are relevant for an engineer, technologist, or technician. The third table refers to the knowledge and attitude profile of a graduate of an engineering program. The fourth is the graduate attribute profiles of the qualifications that are required, including knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And the fifth is after graduation, the professional competency profiles that specify the competencies that are required for qualified engineer, technologists, or technicians. Due to shortage of time, I will only focus on table 4, the graduate attribute profiles, and I will focus on the requirements for the professional engineer. But you can go to the website and look at the changes made for all other levels of engineering qualifications. Now, the graduate attributes profile table 4 has 11 parts. It used to have 12, but we deleted one, and it now has 11. These can be considered in 3 groups. The first is the basic engineering knowledge, problem analysis, design and development of solutions, investigation and research, and use of appropriate tools. These are, of course, common across all engineering disciplines. The second is how the engineer relates to the world. And here you can see there's a consideration of ethics, a whole area which was significantly broadened. And the third element is how engineers work. So individually and collaboratively, communication, project management, and preparation for lifelong learning. Here you see elements of the table 4 for a professional engineer. The relevant agreement or accord is the Washington Accord. So you see them numbered as WA for Washington Accord, number 1, 2, 3 to 11. And here are the elements in the first column. And here's the changes made in the second column and the explanation of the changes in the third. The changes that were made are shown in red font. And you can see that the changes made were very, very minimal. And we kept the structure of the framework of the GAPC. We didn't change it. We changed all tables. I'm only showing one table and one for professional engineer. But in all cases, we kept the structure because we wanted to make the changes we needed without making too many changes to the structure to ensure the acceptance. So the first, in terms of engineering knowledge, the most important change was we added the computing skills. In terms of problem analysis, we added considerations for sustainable development. And in the design and development of solutions, we added sustainability issues such as whole of life costing and net zero carbon impact. So you can see here, these are the latest thinking, different perspectives, but most importantly, you can see the purple stars coming up where elements of diversity and inclusion were included. The next three elements related to skills for investigation. And here we included the skills for researching latest technologies, trends, and thinking. Use of new technologies, we looked at computational techniques, understanding the limitations, so thinking critically of the tools that are being used and developing those skills. And here's the new one, the engineer in the world, to analyze and evaluate sustainable development outcomes in relation to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which of course includes Goal 5 for diversity and inclusion. So you see here, these are the main elements that were changed, and you'll see here the purple stars coming up. The next one was ethics, and again, you can see that a broad consideration of ethics was included to adhere to national and international laws and demonstrate the need for diversity and inclusion. So an ethical element was brought in to be diverse and inclusive. Similarly, working in collaboration and again in inclusive teams, this language was brought in. And similarly, communication, to communicate inclusively. So not only skills in communication, but to work collaboratively and be able to communicate. So consider diverse and different perspectives as well. So you can see that diversity and inclusion came in extensively in these elements. And the last two, again, was project management, the ability to work inclusively as a team leader, and then lifelong learning, creativity, innovation, and critical thinking. And gender-neutral language was introduced throughout the framework. We consulted extensively, including with ICWSTEM, the first time that women were consulted on this framework to ensure that there was a really inclusive approach to the development. The framework was adapted unanimously in June 2021. We did the work between November 2019 and June 21 over COVID, during COVID, a global team, and we worked in record time. Global acceptance has been fast, and the profession itself recognized the need for urgent change to maintain the social license for relevant contemporary engineering solutions. And program objectives now have and related course outlines for engineering must incorporate the development of these new skills. And the principles for implementation is to include elements such as diversity and ethics in all projects and assignments, discuss the outcomes of projects, experiments that include societal elements, encourage working in diverse teams, include communication in different forms for all class members, and encourage participation by all so that there's no correct answer, but an approach that matters. And course outcomes must demonstrate the various aspects of the GAPC have been achieved. The signatories have 5 years to implement the program. The changes made is a powerful way to transform the culture of engineering from the inside out. It is expected that in 10 years, engineering graduates will be capable of adapting to new technologies, committed to lifelong learning, and will have developed essential skills for communications and teamwork. Importantly, they will have learned to work in diverse teams, we hope. The curriculum will be more appealing to women, and the retention of women, we hope, in engineering education and the workforce will increase. This is the long-term view of the review of the impact of the review of the GAPC impact. So this was our vision, and we did the work, but now we're hoping that we will get this impact. This is an example of how a vision for greater diversity has been transmitted into global action for change. Implementation is by the universities and the accreditation bodies that are signatories of the International Engineering Alliance accredit those universities if they are to maintain their signatory status. The review of the GAPC will continue to have long-term global impact for years to come. And finally, I want to again congratulate ICWSTEM. because you are a great example of what can be achieved if we come together collectively and develop our networks to support each other. You are our empowerment and you represent our success. So congratulations for the progress that you have made. Thank you very much.
За бидний өнөөдрийн хурлын нэгэн одоо чухал чиглэл бол инженерчлэл, сэргийгт хэрчим хүчийг нэвтрүүлэх, инновац болон дэд бүтцийг нэмэгдүүлэх одоо энэ сэдэв байгаа. Ингээд бид бүхний өмнө инженерчлэлийн өнөө болон ирээдүйн төлөв байдал, за түүнийг одоо сайжруулахын тулд инженерчлэлийн боловсролыг өөрчлөхөд дэлхийн чиг хандлага хаана байна? За алсын харааг яаж үр дүнтэй үйл ажиллагаа руу чиглүүлэх юм бэ гэсэн маш үр дүнтэй сонирхолтой илтгэлийг танилцуулсан. Олон улсын эрдэмтэд инженерийн нэгдсэн байгууллагын одоо 11-с 17 оны ерөнхийлөгч за доктор Марилин Ханг танд чин сэтгэлийн талархал илэрхийлье. Баярлалаа. За ингээд өнөөдрийн эрдэм шинжилгээний хуралдаанд оролцож байгаа төлөөлөгч та бүхнийгээ цайны завсарлаганд урьж байна. За ингээд цайны завсарлага маань 11:00-д дуусах ёстой. За бид нар цайны завсарлагын төгсгөлд 10 цаг 55 минутанд та бүхнийг энэ хуралдаан бодж байгаа номын сангийнхаа бүр гадаа шаттай өндөр довжоон дээр дурсгалын зураг авахыг урьж байна. За ингээд та бүхнийг цайны завсарлаганд урьж байна.